Greetings, greetings, greetings to you, my Aboriginal brothers and sisters, and to those who are nobles and honorables, living souls, Moors like myself, those indigenous, menelated living souls like myself. Today, or this evening, I want to address a different demographic of people or persons. I'm talking about the niggers. Let me reiterate unapologetically. I want to address the different demographic of persons or people, the niggers, or who wants to call themselves Black, African, Indian, which means indigo, indigo means black, or colored. Things have been happening over a period of time, and I have sat and I have watched whilst I nurse myself from injuries that I would have acquired, not willfully. But I want to make myself clear today. First, I want to address those niggers who wants to sit on a wasteful wall and become dependent individuals on a system that continues to enslave them. A system that continues to take your rights away. Those niggers who sits down and beg the current system, either in the Corporation of Guyana or either outside or in the diaspora of different corporations like the US. Now, what is happening in the Corporation of Guyana is that there is a flood of fiat currency that is going around and changing the mindset of those persons that the current administration see as niggers. And they're treating you like one. And then some of you are adopting to the situation to be called a nigger. Why am I so strong on referring to you, my people? It is because you take up the role as an enslaved people, mentally, socially, and physically. Before you become independent to think on your own, it becomes a harder task. Before you become independent to feed yourself, it becomes a harder task. Before you become independent to make yourself dependable only upon you and not that of the Indian man, it becomes a harder task. So what is happening? You now reach out to them because you're now telling this corporate system of commerce that you cannot and you will not be able to live on your own, be able to make viable decisions, be able to educate yourself, be able to feed yourself. So you want their intervention. You want their help because you are dependent on them, and this is how they're treating you. I want to stress on the first one, the lands. Oh my gosh. Melanated people, melanated living souls, those who are indigenous, those who are original or want to call yourself aboriginal. It's the same thing. Sorry, it's two different things, but one is the abstract from the original man, one is the original man. However you want to put yourself in that category. The thing is that if you have no identity, your lands will be lost to the immigrant, to the ones who has no ancestral lineage to the land in which you live on. So now they're not only going to claim property, they're going to claim ancestral lineage to the land in which belongs to you. I'm talking about the land of America or the land of what you want to call Guyana, but sorry, Guyana. There's a difference. Guyana is the indigenous word for the name of the land, and Guyana is the present day term of the corporation in which you live in. Now, if there's no ancestral lineage to the land in which belongs to you, you are lost. 1, you carry their name. 2, you are a citizen to the corporation which is Guyana. 3, you eat their food. 4, you worship their God. You have no culture. And number 5, you do not know who you are. So they're using that tactic to take away what is rightfully yours. And this is the most embarrassing thing. Some of you so adapt yourself to the slave mentality that you tell yourself, oh, my foreparents came here as a slave. No, they didn't. That's what they told you, and that's what you're running with. And many other so-called African organizations, like you talk about the Pan-Africanists, who are teaching you the same nonsense. Because you failing to not only read, write, or comprehend, but to do research upon your own culture. You're so taken up with the religious aspects of life that you do not want to come off of that pinnacle. And you so enshrined, you have so enshrined yourself with the fiat currency that you think that that's the only thing that there is available to you. Oh, but I have a thing coming. You have a thing coming. Sorry, not I. You have a thing coming. Because there's a lot of things now that has been taking place. One of them is that the politics of this industrialized corporate system that you're living in has overwhelmed you, that you haven't the ability to think for your own, and it is controlled by an immigrant, which is Fraud Ali and the rat Jack Dio. These people are immigrants. Therefore, parents came on my ancestral land, and I'm talking hard about it. In 1838, there's evidence to show that they came. We can get to the part just now. But if you do not claim your heritage, your lineage, your ancestral lineage, your allodial title, you have nothing to gain. It will be all lost. You will lose your land. You will only line up at the Ministry of Housing for property, because property and land are two different things. In order for you to own land, you have to be indigenous. And I'm not talking about the Amerindians. They also have a date of entry. I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about the native people, which are called the Amerindians. I'm talking about you, who looks like me, who are indigenous. You know, there is a conversation that I had to take a brother of mine through, where I had to introduce him to Ivan van Sertima book that we were here before Columbus, just to keep him in the knowledge of really who he really is. But you see, the corporate system is not going to have those information available to you because they have you in an algorithm. And in that algorithm is to continue the indoctrination. So the only thing you can see is that first, you came here, your parents came here as a slave. Two, you're a corporate entity. That means you belong to the Corporation of Guyana. Three, that you're enslaved. Four, that you're 2/3 of a human being. And five, you have no identity. Six, you don't know your own culture because you belong to the European culture, the blue eye, blonde hair, Caucasian. So if you don't have these things, well, then you cannot claim prescriptive rights under the laws of the Lands and Surveys Act of the Corporation of Guyana. You see what I'm coming from? How do you know who you are? You don't know who you are. You're moving from place to place. First, you lived in Berbice. Now you're living in Linden. Now you're living in Georgetown. Now you're living in New Amsterdam. You're all over the place. So you do not know who you are. You cannot know who you are. So the simplest thing is to align you as Guyanese citizen and put you in that alignment of the don't know 2/3 of a human being person. You now become the property of the state. So wherever you go to live, the state now, if they want that place, they turn up and they tell you, well, this is regularization. And you can't stop them. They do what they feel like to do because you don't know who you are. And then you're up for regularization. You can and will be regularized according to the laws of the executive, which is the president of the Corporation of Guyana. Because under those circumstances, he's the executive, he's the commander-in-chief. He can say whatever he feels like, and you have to follow because you are his property. So I want to address the young ones, in which and who I put it, who I ran into the other day. The very young ones who call themselves niggers, nigger dog. Mind you, I'm so upset that you parents have allowed your children to reduce themselves to this level. You calling yourself a thug. You calling yourself that person who doesn't have time with life. You want the Mali and you want to sport, you want to enjoy yourself. That is the life you want, the entertainment. Think about it. What does it really profit you just to work all the time, get a salary, and get drunk at the end of the week? Take the Mali, smoke the weed, and cannot control yourself. You young women, you young men. This is all Guyana has to offer you. Nothing much. This is all the administration of this de facto government has to offer you, and they're pumping hundreds of billions of dollars into it. The entertainment industry, because they want you to keep asleep. Yes, I am addressing you niggers, because that's how they see who you are. And when I look at you, I see the same thing too. Because you were asleep. You cannot awoke or awake yourself from this tragedy that you're sleeping in. Because you're so indoctrinated, you're so far gone. I'm serious. You are so far gone. It's impossible to think on the straight road. Now, the other thing that is so shocking, that this de facto immigrant government that you have some house slaves, have some house niggers that are peddling this propaganda, that is peddling this algorithm out there. You know, the ones that the cuckoo brains, the ones that ain't got nothing to shake or to think and can't help themselves. Yes, I'm talking about them. They have some house niggers that is standing up and witnessing these atrocities. One of them, you could imagine one of them is trying to support the de facto vice president, the rat Jack Dio. That what he's doing is an imminent, is not an imminent threat, but it's an imminent progression to the corporation of the of Guyana. And there's so much standing behind him, and this man is responsible for 1,480 plus deaths in his tenure as president of the Corporation of Guyana between 2000 and 2010. This man has orchestrated and approved a phantom gang that murdered my brothers and sisters in the Corporation of Guyana, those who are called Guyanese. Spent years terrorizing the so-called black population in the Corporation of Guyana. And then you standing there to support him, when the now president that he's standing behind was then minister. I think he controlled two ministries: Minister of Housing and Water and Minister of Commerce and Industry. You call it Trade and Tourism, something like that. I just can't remember. But that was his position. And they knew of the terror that this man has orchestrated upon a population of people. And now you're standing behind that particular individual. I don't know if you're pretending to forget the history of these immigrants, the history of these now so-called colonizers that are here to colonize your land, that is here to take away your allodial rights and title, that is here to deprive you of your birthrights. Yes, I'm talking about these so-called slave owners of the plantation, the Corporation of Guyana, and the citizens thereof are their enslaved subjects. And they're actually telling you that there's nothing that you can do about it. Don't matter how much you cry. It has to be the way it is. And it's such a horrible state that you're in. Your mental capacity and the indoctrination that you have, it is astounding. To me, it's shocking, because I just cannot believe that you are unable to see the light. Every single day you wanted to know, where are you really? Aren't you seeing this is in front of you? And all you're talking about is partying, partying hard. You know, the horrible thing is that the horrible thing is that I just cannot understand, or I just cannot comprehend. No matter how much people talk to you guys about waking up and seeing the truth, you in the United States corporation, you call it critical race theory. Some people call it the awoken doctrine. And you're so able, fine, I comprehend that the algorithm is so hard that you're unable to see such things. But most of you got people who are living in the US who are able to teach you these things, and you're unable to see it in plain sight. Yes, I am addressing you niggas. You have to wake up and see the truth for what it is. Yes, I comprehend none of us are perfect, but you can't tell me that you somehow or the other, your brain doesn't give you that intuition that something is totally wrong. Something is definitely and totally wrong. I'm sitting here in the back looking at what's going on. As I say again, nursing to my wounds, trying to get myself well, and just cannot see. How is it possible that you are not able to see what is happening in front of you? So I don't know what else more do you need to have a natural occasion of devastation happen, like what happened in Jagdio's term when he was president, in order for you to go to the polls in 2011, and there was a minority government, which they lost complete control of the parliament by a 1-seat or 2-seat majority, and which changed the government in 2015 because of the prorogation of parliament. I mean, come on, what more else do you want to see, Guyanese? This is a revolution. You need to stand up and revolt against this particular lawlessness. This is slave master at work. This is the slave master at work. This is the Jim Crow law. Now in the Corporation of Guyana, because it is a state and a plantation of enslaved people. Because of the new addition of Jim Crow law. Do you think this nonsense could have happened in Haiti? I'm like, think about it. Do you think that this nonsense could happen in Haiti? Do you think that this nonsense could happen in certain African countries? Do you think that certain people in certain countries would sit down and allow these things to happen? Take a good look at the man you call Abraham Tahir, captain. He's refusing to allow such things to happen because he sat down too long and realized, look, this is far too much for my people. Guyana, claiming to be one of the most richest nations in the southern hemisphere, and can't give proper daily services to its people, cannot improve the living standards to its citizens. Yeah, you go on YouTube, you see how they're talking about it. You wanted to know where is the growth that they're such talking about? Where is this mass expansion of riches and wealth that they're talking about the Corporation of Guyana on YouTube. I'm asking myself, show it. Another thing that is happening, that you're now seeing the police force, I call it the corporate police force of the Corporation of Guyana, its intent to continue to have its black population of that country under the mace of the Guyana Police Force and the guidance of the Commissioner of Police for it to continue to become and to continue to stay as a ghetto infested place where they can control the black population. And I'm saying this without any apologies. You can't tell me, how is it that in certain Indian villages within the Corporation of Guyana, there's no such thing as a ghetto. There's no such thing as gun infestation. There's no such thing as illegal and illicit activity, narcotics, and all these things. When these same populations that I'm talking about, the same black populations are filled with niggers, cannot afford to bring these things within their community. So who's really investing in it? Because the last I checked, they're so poor that they can't bring the drugs in their community. They can't even afford, even to the person who's selling it can't even afford to import it into their community. Even to those little thugs who are using the guns cannot even afford to buy one, nor the bullets for it. But they're having it in a large scale. So who's really investing in these communities? Who's really destroying? Not only destroying the community, but changing the culture of the community. Because look, I'm sure the past examination and the past graduation from UG, the past CXC, that a lot of those persons who would have graduated are now in the security sector, working as security guards, and are qualified. Don't talk about ExxonMobil. It make no sense. It's a waste of time. ExxonMobil ain't got space to employ the Guyanese that you think that is working to make themselves available for employment by Exxon. Don't fool yourself. And even if you got a company, that company try to seek out employment for workers or try to make sure that they make themselves available to go out there and look for people who are qualified to work. Oh no, it's not going to work either. They already know that they already know their deployment. So let's talk about Exxon. And Exxon's position is to make sure that the citizens of the Corporation of Guyana, or the slave plantation, run by the colonists or the colonizers of the people of the People's Progressive Party, is to make sure that you, who are under their guidance of enslaved people, will remain enslaved. That is a fact. Now let's do a little fast forwarding. They talk about the $100,000. And how is it that, we want to make sure that citizens gain some sort of handout or payout from the government? That's going to happen to the black population when you see this I just don't know what I don't know what to call him, from Jamaica, will be coming to sing and to tirade for the black population in Guyana, or the so-called niggers. So don't be fooled. This is what is going to happen. So first, we comprehend that it is a de facto government that we have, who are colonizers, who is also immigrants who are taking away because they came here. The PPP government is a majority Indian party. It's an Indian economy. You live by an Indo culture because that's what is the algorithm for you to digest, for you to feed on. So better yet, because that is the problem, you have no rights because you have lost your rights. You don't know who you are. You don't know your culture, so they're practicing Jim Crow's law. Then they're going to make sure that you're always at a position where you have to beg. They're not going to give you enough money so you can take yourself out of the position of poverty in which you're in. So you're going to always remain at a stable condition where they can control you. Let's face it. And because you got a lot of those house niggers, those house slaves, that is within the People's Progressive Party, who's encouraging the enslaved, indentured colonist manner to you, who are called niggers. It's going to remain that way because none of them are not pushing policies to improve the community that you're living, because the policies are not for you. The policies are for the majority Indo community. And not even them is enjoying it, because now they get to realize, well, the PPP party is all about friends and family, but they know how to spread the wealth. They know how to spread the wealth. They know that it's within the DNA of their supporters. No matter how they don't like them, their supporters got a DNA that when they go to that ballot box, buy me a vote the cup. I don't want one black man to rule me, me a vote cup. Although I don't like how my own Matthew treat me, me a put the X next to the cup. Because me prefer one Indian man did it instead of one black man. And it is so disgraceful. It is so disgraceful that even members of the party that represents you, not the PPP, I'm talking about the opposition. Man, look, they're doing a bundle of BS. They're destroying their own selves before they stand up and represent the constituencies that voted for them. I mean, I don't like politics. I really don't. I've seen what politics has done to some of us. I'm a simple example of it. I really don't like politics. But let's face the facts. Most of you who I'm talking to wouldn't want to be or wouldn't want to take up your allodial title or your rights as indigenous persons to the land, which is your ancestral rights. You would want to stick towards a political background, the political culture. You would want to own up to that, but where does it really take you? Can't you be a group of people that carries the power to make sure that you stand as the landlord on the land in which it is yours? So the PPP, the People's Progressive Party, can only make negotiations or can only sit and have a conversation with you as a corporate state indeed, where you are the landlord, in which you have to be paid royalty and subventions, because this is what the Local Government Act was created for. For you who are the landlords, the central government to create subventions for you in Parliament every year that they can pay you your royalties and subventions, which are taxes, for the land in which they're on to do commerce according to the treaty of 1777, 1787, and all those years, because a lot of us don't know how to do research, because we never taught how to do research. We never taught the truth, so we can't do research. And when people like me sit and talk the truth, well, then it becomes a steering example. Or they sit down and they look at you and they want to know what this guy is talking about. Do many of you know that there was a declaration passed in United Nations 1960, the 13th of December, Declarations 1514, Article 1514, which tells all colonial powers to give back the lands to its indigenous people that you take under force or under duress by war? Do you really know that? Do you know that Guyana is a colonist state of colonizers? It is still a colonist state. There's a difference of independence and there's a difference of interdependence. There's a difference from a corporation and there's a difference from a natural state. And I wish some of you who goes to the university pay attention, write it down, do your research. Especially when it comes to Guyana, you have an author who did extensive research, who sat down and went, yes, I can safely say in the 1970s and 80s, maybe Guyana didn't want anything to do with him. So he left the shores of Guyana and he went to university. As a matter of fact, as soon as he left the shores of Guyana, University of West Indies picked him up, UWI. And when UWI picked him up, I'm talking about Yvonne van Sertima. When UWI picked him up, Oxford picked him up. As a matter of fact, all the different universities that you can think about. I think Princeton picked him up also too. All the different universities that you can think about, he went and lectured even to those black colleges, historically black colleges, HBCU, black colleges and universities. In the US, corporation picked him up and had him lecturing. And he came from this particular state or corporation you call Guyana. And not only him talk about it, about the prospects of us being here more than 5,000, more than 10,000, more than 20,000 years. There's enough historical facts that we were here for more than 60,000 years. Check up on the Olmec community or the Olmec history. It can tell you that we traversed this land. In Brazil, up the river Rio Negro, there's a large population of indigenous melanated people that are living there, like myself, that were never enslaved. It's over 60 million, but you would never know that. They would never tell you that. And if you want more evidence where the Arawaks are concerned, like I call myself an Arawak, that is why they have problems with the boundary demarcation of Brazil, of Venezuela and Guyana, because the Orinoco Basin is where the Arawaks lived. Where the Arawaks said, yo, brother, I want to be independent. I ain't got time with you and you state Venezuela. I ain't got time with you and you state British Guyana. Y'all leave us alone. You think Bar Jagdeo doesn't know what I'm telling you? Remember, he wanted to give Venezuela a channel through the Orinoco River. Remember that? It sounds like a simple conversation, but if you check the history, what is the Orinoco River and what is the Orinoco Basin, which the river comes from, then you'll get to know who you are. That are now called Guyanese, but which come on, which reign from the how should I put it over? which reigned from the nation of Guyana, Guiana. The U has the two dots at the top. In pronunciation of the Arawak language that normally trace back to the Olmec, which means land of a people of the golden age. They come tell me, but it's a land of many waters. No. You wanted to know what's the crown? That the emblem that the president drives around with on the number plate of his vehicle. It's called a Cacique crown. If you check up the word Cacique means an Arawak chief. He's not an Arawak chief. He's an immigrant. Came from Hindustan. He has a date of entry. Him and everybody else, it looks like him. They have a date of entry. They have no ancestral lineage to this land, but they're here taking it from you. And you sit down and you skinning your teeth and scratching your head and saying, why I get high and smoke the Mali because everybody's taking away everything. No. You're allowing them to take away everything. That's why I'm talking to the niggers. The life that you're living is allowing them to take away everything. I'm talking to the niggers. No. This is one of the main reasons why I had to come on this life, Now it makes it more terrible. Now you have Mohindra Modi, or Nahindra, or whatever his name is, the Indian Prime Minister, who's here in the Corporation of Guyana to make sure that the 1919 doctrine that was supposed to be in place now, to make sure that that happens. Because here why. The US incoming president, the US corporation, Mr. Donald Trump, is activating an 1887 Alien Act law that is still there, talking about deportation of undocumented aliens. Alien means persons who do not belong to the land or do not belong to the corporation. Remember, most of you who had green cards, and you check it, it says this green card is a certified that this alien resident, this person received an alien resident. You are an immigrant. So do they. I'm talking about those who, I'm talking about the PPP. Now, they realize that the mass deportation that he's talking about would end up being a larger section of the Indian population. Why do you think Modi's over here? You think he's here to sign documents talking about, medical industry, food industry, in support of this or in support of that? And the thing is that all of them are MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. They're not basic agreement that has to go in place. It's a Memorandum of Understanding. That means over a period of time, we can work towards a solution. But he knows why he's here. And Air Frauds, Ali know why he's here. You see, when those immigrants will be packed up and be deported, India doesn't have space for them. So that 1919 doctrine that was presented in the Indian Parliament in 1919, that doctrine for Guyana, the Corporation of Guyana, then it was British Guyana. And the time that happened, India was also under the British in 1919. That Guyana was to become a colony of India. Trinidad, Guyana, and Suriname. Trinidad, Guyana, and Suriname. These three states was to become a colony of India, which was supposed to be populated by Indians, or what you call Hindustans. Because remember now, India is the British name that they gave to them. You see, the thing is that to those who know or have the knowledge in what I'm talking about are sitting dormant, quiet. It's handed to them, it's on a silver platter. You got to ask yourself, look, people saying that, oh, he's here because Guyana found oil and maybe they can sell to India and India can be part of that agreement. Be honest with you, wherever Exxon goes, nobody else comes. Because Exxon makes sure that they pressure that corporate state or that country, which is a plantation, to work in their best interests, or you'll see the wrath of Exxon. And Guyana already have 20 billion. Let me be share with you. Close. Let me be direct with the amount. First was 12 billion. No, first was 9.5 billion. And the second one, I'm talking about the expenditure bill that they have for Exxon. They owe Exxon for looking for the oil, setting up operations for the oil, extracting the oil. Not for what comes out. I'm talking about for all of that. So they created the resources and Guyana has to pay them for that. So the first receipt was 9.5 billion. The second receipt was, I think, was 12.6 or 12.7 billion. So if you add it up, let's say roughly about 22 point whatever billion, Guyana owes Exxon. Guyana's national debt has passed 2 billion. I'm talking about monies that they owed other countries like the and institutions like the IDB and the IMF and all these things. Guyana's external debt has passed 2 billion. But Guyana monies that they owe Exxon is more than the national debt. So Exxon is not going to allow the Corporation of Guyana to go beyond them so they can make money to pay back that debt. Exxon wants you in debt. So to you who are looking, you niggers that are looking, comprehend this. It is your children's children's children that's going to pay for that. Like the $13 trillion that the US borrowed from China, I think it was 10 years ago. They borrow it in the backs of African Americans, or the so-called African Americans, as collateral, because US money is null and void. It has no basis or foundation for which it stands to give it the proper currency, the worth. It's worthless. It's useless. The fiat. It cannot be backed by the land, because the land in which the US corporation is on is owned by the indigenous. There's a treaty. And then not only there's a treaty, but the United Nations make sure that that treaty must be recognized. And the US as a colonial power give back the lands to the indigenous. Now you got US corporate citizens that are immigrants like Donald Trump telling people that he's an American. It's not an American. His foreparents came there as immigrants. So does the others who are here. You're not, well, the thing is that you can call yourself Guyanese, because Guyana is a corporation. It's a plantation. That name can change at any particular time. But if you want to say, and this is what is happening, you say you're Guyanese, fine. Take Guyana and go back to India. Or take Guyana and go back to wherever you came from. It's going to work out better that way. No problem. You could be deported. Yeah, man, you can deport it with Guyana. Guyana can be deported too. Name can change. It can change. Like Like how there is Zimbabwe, before there was Zimbabwe, there was Rhodesia. It was Rhodesia. And when Zimbabwe became a nation state, the name changed from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe. All these things could happen. It's not a problem. But the problem is right now is that where do you put a population? Because the Indian population really from India in the US corporation is roughly about 16%, between 13 to 16%. So if there's mass deportation, where does these people go? Because Modi done overpopulated already. India overpopulated. He ain't got space for them. There's no economic benefits. So the only thing is to reach out to the nations that were identified to become colonist states of India. Guyana is one of them. Oh, yeah, that's a bombshell. That is a bombshell. So a lot of you who doesn't even know, it is a bombshell. Don't think that this happened yesterday. This was a work in progress. But they were looking to see which one of the leaders of the US corporation is going to be elected for 2025 to make sure that that comprehension, that MOU, Memorandum of Understanding Agreement, can take place. The 1919 declarative document that stood up in the then British India Parliament. And Guyana sits as one of those countries. It's three: Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Suriname. So for you niggas who wants to continue smoking your brains out, who wants to continue on your own path to destruction, let me tell you this. I don't care how you look at it. Some of you may call me a racist. Some of you may want to say whatever you want to say. I don't care. What I do care about is that if you cannot sit at the table, same table that those Indian immigrants are sitting on, to make decisions for you and to take control of your life, your community, your future, then you ain't got no future at all. You ain't worth nothing. I am sorry for you. Believe you me. Like I tell some of my friends, look, the Americans, not so, the US citizens elected a tyrant, and a tyrant it should be. I'm happy that they elected a tyrant. So when the US implodes upon itself, they should not say that I didn't see this coming. You elected what you see. You cannot say you never see it. He told you from in front that he's going to be a dictator. He's going to be a tyrant. So it's the PPP. Jack, John, Ali, and all of them told you, niggers, that when they get into power, this is what it's going to be. They're going to murder your leaders. They're going to imprison the activists, and they're going to make sure that you cannot stand up as niggers. You will remain niggers. Yes. They're going to make sure that you will remain niggers. Can't help yourself. It can't happen, can't do. This can't, I don't know. All these things shall be you. I don't think you want it much clearer than that. There are some of your leaders and politicians who are afraid to say what I'm saying because they don't want to offend you. Well, brother, I prefer offend you because you know why? You are an indoctrinated nigger. You're asleep. You ain't gonna wake up. You can't wake up. Something is definitely wrong with you. So I'm saying this to you now. If you can't wake up and smell the coffee that is brewing, that is there to enslave you, and you're drinking the coffee, and then you're taking the coffee and turning it into Kool-Aid, and then you're giving it to your children, I don't know what's going to happen to you, because come 2025, the same administration that installed the PPP will reinstall them back. There's nothing like free and fair elections anymore in the Corporation of Guyana. So if y'all are so electoral bound by an election or by politics or by this new word democracy, you best think about a revolution. Because there's no free and fair elections anymore in Guyana. You have lost that on the 2nd of August, 2020, when the Trump administration ensured that you handed over powers to an immigrant who here now as your colonizer, who is now going to make sure that 1919 doctrine passes and enforces itself within the Corporation of Guyana. I am Noble Gavin Matthews Bay. Don't forget. Stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask, and thank you very much for having me in the comforts of your home or on your smart devices to listen to this message. Stay safe.